Hello, welcome to my review of The Name of a Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. This is the first novel in the King Killer Chronicles, published in 2007. And reading it is a breeze, so I just slapped myself over the head with that awful joke. But it really is a great read. It's a fantastic novel, and I'd highly recommend it because not only is it well written, not only is it a great story, but it's sort of different from the typical Tolkien-esque fantasies or the dark and gritty fantasy that's sort of been popularised recently. So it's a nice refreshing read in the fantasy genre. It's sort of eschewing the typical fantasy elements that you might expect. So you're not getting dragons, you're not getting goblins and elves, and not getting this poor farmer who, strives to go on this epic adventure. And, the grand scale drama is sort of taken down a notch or two, so it's sort of more personalised. But it does maintain, many of the fundamentals of fantasy. So you're getting great character development, getting these great descriptions and world building. You're still getting, good drama and good action sequences. Very interesting plot structure, and this more scientific application of magic, while still maintaining, the mysticism that makes fantasy what it is. I actually had written in my notes, I'd recommend it for people who are fans of fantasy who want something refreshing, which is fair enough. I've also recommended it for people who aren't readers of fantasy novels who might want to give it a try. I'm not sure quite what I was thinking when I made that recommendation because, not sure who wakes up and thinks, it's a new day, let us start a new hobby and delve into fantasy novels. But, if that's you, do give it a read. It's a great novel. As I say, well, what's it about really? The structure of the book is interesting, and it's sort of, you get the main protagonist, Quoth, and he's reciting his life story to this chronicler who's writing it down. So you're getting Quoth's biography in the form of these flashback sequences that are sort of building up, so he's constantly uncovering the mysteries and the past surrounding this sort of infamous legendary character that is Quoth. So the structure's interesting, but you're also constantly cutting back to a present setting, and there's sort of some interesting debates, dialogues, discussions going on there, some good action sequences. So it's not just sort of drawing the plot pacing to a breaking, screeching halt. You're continually plodding along and coursing through this book whilst sort of uncovering what Quoth's story is exactly. So the first novel sort of covers Quoth's adolescence. So you see his childhood, how he started out in a theatre troupe where he learnt to perform the theatrical elements, the musical elements. When you see his learning of the science and magic of the world, sympathy, which is what magic is in this world. You're introduced to sort of Chandrian, which are the folklore demons that really do drive the book. But the interesting thing with the Chandrian is they sort of take a back seat, at least in this first novel. But they set the course of events. They sort of set off the sequence of events that lead to Quoth's life being what it is and leads to his eventual infamy. So that's quite interesting. As I say, both sort of fate of the world drama is brought down a notch, and you're really focusing on Quoth's story throughout. So you'll learn about Quoth's subsequent destitution and living in poverty as he survives on the streets. Eventually gets enrolled into university. You're still sort of seeing his impoverished struggles there, and that's really where the main batch of the plot takes place, seeing what goes on at the university. So there's a lot more interesting elements to a plot, a lot of action sequences, quite intense sequences, but I won't spoil anything. But it's a really good read. As always, what's done well? Well, the world building, the places that are described, they're believable, it all feels real, it feels fleshed out. You've got folklore, you've got cultures, and sort of the superstitions and lifestyles of these cultures that are brought to life. you've got good characters, so you've got the likeable, friendly characters, as well as some nice, well-realised rivals. That helps create conflict and sort of, sets the scene for Quoth's life, and it really does act as a counterpoint, these rival characters, to prove Quoth's wits and guile. So you've got these, strong female characters, Denna, who's very similar to Quoth. She's sort of got similar wanderlust with similar intellect and cunning, so she acts as sort of a parallel to Quoth. You've got Devi, who's sort of a lone shark who Quoth comes to rely on. Razori, who's very mysterious, bats woman, I guess. She's a bit in a world of her own, but she's an interesting character who Quoth befriends. Then you've also got Eladin, who's one of the scholars, who's also, a bit off his head, but he's probably one of my favourite characters because he just seems a bit interesting, very intelligent, and, as I say, a bit off his head. And Ambrose is sort of the main antagonist in this novel, is sort of this rich twit, I guess. It all creates this conflict that, as I say, drives Quoth's character. The pace in this book, it's quite a long book, about 600 and odd pages, but the short chapters, it really helps to keep the pace going, and they're very good, well-written chapters as well. We're getting lots of tense sequences, and because the chapters end sort of after a couple of pages, 3 or 4 pages at some point, you sort of want to read further on, so it sort of keeps the tempo flowing. So I enjoy that. And the prose, it's very lyrical, very descriptive, but the reader's not really getting lost in the poetry. You can sort of tell that Patrick Rothfuss has spent a lot of time crafting each individual sentence to create this very poetic prose. So what might people not like about this book? Well, some people really do hate Quoth, think he's sort of too good without too many flaws, which I can sort of understand. He does sort of seem a bit up himself and a bit too perfect at times, so I wouldn't mind seeing Quoth make a few more mistakes or see what he's not so good at, but otherwise, all his skills are sort of explained. You can sort of see how he's intelligent, and how he uses his intelligence and his childhood growing up in a theatrical family, so you can sort of see how he's gained his skill set, so it's not all unexplained. Other people, it's sort of subjective, this purple prose, so some people don't really like the writing style, but I think it's beautiful. I think it's really well done, particularly in this book. Normally I do like my straightforward prose, but when the more descriptive, flowery prose is done well, I really enjoy it, and I think in this book it's done well. Again, some people who are into their typical fantasy books, they might sort of find the subversion of the typical fantasy elements. They might not enjoy that if they want a classic sort of Lord of the Rings or a Song of Ice and Fire-esque book, and the other thing that sort of has readers a bit disheartened is the wait between books. Book 2, The Wise Man's Fear, is currently out, but Book 3, which is provisionally titled Doors of Stones, is still being written, and it's not got a release date. So, I mean, I don't mind the wait. I'm quite a patient guy. I've got plenty to read, but if you like reading your trilogies all in one go, or if you like setting out on a series that is finished, you might not want to start this just yet, but definitely keep an eye out for it if you are interested in reading it, because this is a great book, and one that I really enjoy. So thank you for watching, and have a good day. See you later.